I want everybody to go back and watch the recap that we did for episode 4 and then realize how immediately wrong I was proven about almost everything I said in that episode. Oh, that episode did not age well at all. But it'll be fun to go back and rewatch all these reviews back to back to back and then see how I was wrong from episode to episode. But man, it was almost like every single thing that I said, like, I don't think they're going to be able to do this.
And then they do it.
Like, immediately. Yeah, hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And this is our post-Geekout reaction for Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 5, which I gotta say, I think this is the best episode of the season so far. And I said that about episode 4. And man, so episode 6 has got some it's got some big boots to fill. It's got some high expectations going into it.
So 6 episodes, the last one, isn't it?
That's the last one. Yeah. Which, man, I really hope we get a season 2. Like, it is weird. How I don't know if it's like 2020 just making it so I'm now like out of sync with going to movie theaters, or if these Marvel shows have just been that good. But I've gotten to that point where I'm like, man, me, a big diehard Marvel fan who looks forward to all the movies, I don't really care about any of the movies anymore. I'm just like, just give me these shows. Like, you're doing all the stuff in the shows that you could do in the movies, but now you can like stretch out to get like more character development, and you're taking bigger risks, and like, oh man, the movies are gonna have they got some even higher expectations going into them now. Which we will talk about the movies in a moment, because there was something that happens in this episode that I found out was apparently going to tie into a movie that was supposed to be coming out at the same time as when this was originally supposed to come out last year. So that sets up all kinds of things. But yeah, recap of what happened. I thought that the entire rest of the season, the remaining 2 episodes, were going to be, the dog really wants up.
Yes.
Yeah, buddy. Okay. I thought the remaining 2 episodes were going to continue focusing on the stuff going on in Europe. It was going to continue being the world-spanning adventure of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And that the big final confrontation at the end was going to come down to them having to face down John Walker. That happens in the first, 5 minutes. That's literally, the thing that I thought was going to be the big finale, the big climax of the entire series, happens at the very beginning of this episode. Is them confronting him going, you gotta turn back in the shield. And man, John Walker has become, to me, maybe one of the best villains that Marvel has ever done, because they did such a great job of just watching his deterioration to get to the point where he is. I'm just watching him sink down there. But at the same time, he definitely still feels very human. We saw him at the end of the last episode. He caved in a dude's chest with the shield and then looked around at everybody like, what the fuck are you looking at? Do something about it. But then we see him at the moment right after that, after he left all that, and you just see him running. And he just gets in place and he's just breathing heavy and everything's going through his head and he's just screaming out there, and I just went, oh my god, raw emotions from this character. You can tell that he's just not I'm the big blank villain. No, this guy's got stuff going through his head. That's crazy. I really enjoyed seeing, vulnerability. That's the word. I enjoyed seeing vulnerability from a villain. And again, I've got to come in here and clarify something. There is a difference between saying, I like this villain, and saying, I like this villain. One is, I like the way that he's written. I think that they're being written in a great way. Another means, I agree with the character. I'm on the character side. This isn't that. I think they're doing an amazing job writing this character. And you really get to see that later on when he goes in for the court-martial. When he goes in and they just, kind of like how we got at the beginning of the season, how Falcon found that. It's even though he did all this stuff, He didn't get the bank loan. Like, nobody was there to support him. We now see this guy who had been coming from a point where, oh yeah, you just get handed Captain America. You just get given all that stuff. Now, like, we're taking away your benefits. We're taking away this stuff that you knew. We're taking away all these things that you relied on. And it was like, oh shoot, now he kind of has to suffer the stuff that other people are suffering through. And this whole thing we've been talking about how John Walker is very much meant to be like a metaphor for a lot of things. I was about to start summing it up. I was like, man, we'd be here all day. But there comes that moment. You want to just get in this lap, Peach?
Yeah, she wants to go in your lap.
She loves being in this lap.
Yes.
Yep. Watch where you're stepping. You good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And we will fit a commercial break right there. Okay. Sure you don't want to sit down? Oh my God, you little weirdo. You little weirdo. Okay. Yeah, this is going to change this very serious conversation we were going into. But yeah, we were talking about how, like, John Walker is meant to be, like, a metaphor for, like, the U.S. government, and, like, Captain America is what America is supposed to be, and John Walker is what America is. And you can keep reading into that and keep going and going. But there comes a moment there which there is a line that I love during that court-martial scene, in which he is facing, like, the senators and all the other people in there who, like, all the generals and all the people who, like, put him in that power and gave him that position, and he says, "You made me this." Mm-hmm. And I just went, oh, wow.
Well, he's not wrong.
No, he's not. He's not. But again, like, speaking in terms of, like, the metaphor of what he is, it's like, yeah, man, again, I've said this many times, but the Marvel movies, they've always had messages. They've never been afraid to make, like, political statements, but they constantly go over people's heads. I have no idea how this could possibly go over anyone's head, what they're trying to say there. And I've seen a lot of people, like, man, sums up the internet perfectly. When Marvel isn't blunt with their messages, people are like, these are just dumb kiddie movies and they don't mean anything. It's like, no, there's actually messages in there. When they're not blunt with the messages, it's like, oh, I can't believe they couldn't be more subtle with the messages. It's like, when they're subtle, you guys don't get it, you idiots. But also, you don't always need to be subtle. That's something that people need to learn, is that subtlety has a time and place, bluntness has a time and place, and with the messages that they are trying to approach here, no, you need to actually be blunt with this stuff. You need to come out and actually say this stuff. And the fact that they're trying to tie certain things in this series into very real world events, when you're not trying to go like, okay, well, we're making reference to real world events, but you know, it's being shown through the eyes of space gods and stuff. No, this is about American government, American policies, meaning it needs to reference actual, like, stuff going on. Yeah, that's the time to be blunt.
From the eyes of Americans.
Yes. So it's like, yeah, this entire show, like, I think they're nailing the tone of this. It's that scene in there, the "you made me this." I freaking love that line in there.
It kind of makes you wonder, like, if Falcon and Winter Soldier was a movie, would they have been, like, not as blunt with the messages?
That scene would be gone. Well, also because if Falcon and Winter Soldier was a movie, here's something that you guys have to realize, and it's one of the reasons why the Marvel shows have been so good so far. It's because this last episode was an hour long. The average Marvel movie is 2 hours to 2.5 hours. Every episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier has been about, taking the credits out, they've been about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Taking the credits out of this one, it's about, we'll say, 55 minutes. So not even including the 6th episode, because we have no idea how long that's going to be. But so far what we've been getting, 40 minutes, takes up to an hour and 20 minutes, takes up to 2 hours, 2 hours, 40 minutes. Now we're at 3.5 hours. And we still have one more episode to go. Yeah, because the show can now have more time with these characters, you can get more in-depth with them. Like, do you think that the boat fixing scene would have been in the movie? That would have been like a very brief thing at the very tail end of the film. Like, the problem's been resolved. Now Sam's out there on the boat and Bucky comes up to help. And it's like, that's how they would have gone out. But like, the actually, like, getting in depth on that scene and actually showing, like, character moments between everybody, the whole idea of, like, the community coming together, which, yeah, that's something that we got to point out here. Like, I love that the villains, the Flag Smashers, their whole thing is, well, the government is stopping us from all coming together. The people need to come together, and they're going to make that happen by force. And Falcon, some guy who had been kind of like, he had a cold shoulder turned to him. Like, he had the people who he thought was going to be there to back him up. They were like, no, we can't really help you with this, no. But you can go on more missions for us, and then maybe we'll pay you. He didn't have the people there to help him when he needed it. So what he doing here? He got out Mom and Dad's book, called up all their friends, and said, yeah, we all need to come together and do this. And then all the people in the community came together and helped out. He's doing what the Flag Smashers want to accomplish. Like, there's that moment where he turned to the Flag Smashers and said, I understand what you're fighting for, but I don't agree with your methods. And I know some people are like, well, what does he mean that he understands what they're fighting for? Like this episode here, where he calls up everybody, and they all come together, and they all help each other out. Like, that's what the Flag Smashers want. They're just going to destroy everything to make it happen. Sam is like, no, let's actually, like, people coming together. It's like, that's a brilliant scene. Like, the boat fixing scene there is not there to just be some quaint thing of like, oh, isn't it funny, Sam and Bucky on a boat together. It's like, no, that's the entire giant thing about his character, his development. It's great.
It also, like, makes another message where it's like, if you want people to come together, you can't force them.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And man, that's another thing, that if we do get Falcon Winter Soldier Season 2, which at this point it's guaranteed it'll have a different name, I want to see more of the people in that community. Like, there's that old guy who came back around, who was in the first episode of Sky Charmer. It's like, yeah, I'd like to see some more interactions between them. And man, that brief moment where Bucky kind of hits on Sam's sister, and Sam's like, oh man, you know there's gotta be fun stuff in season 2 with that. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the number one thing that I was wrong about, and the number one thing I'm so happy I was wrong about. At the end of our last review, I said that a big fear I had at this moment is that we were never going to go back to Isaiah Bradley. I'm like, you can't just drop that in our laps and then, like, just walk away from it, because I do know the Marvel formula, and I have been a big champion of the Marvel formula. I've been talking about, like, no, this stuff really works, and I think it's great that every now and again they'll come in here with a small, subtle thing, like a very small, like, oh, who's that character? Oh, you'll know them later, in like 5 movies from now. You'll get to know something about them. But Isaiah Bradley was not one of those things that you should do that with. I'm not saying you shouldn't bring him back. I'm saying you shouldn't drop him in our laps and then take him away and then be like, don't worry, 5 more seasons down the road, then you'll get something on that. It's like, no, we need more on that now. And it really felt to me, like I said, that the rest of the season was going to be them, like, chasing around the Flag Smashers in Europe and U.S. Agent and all that stuff going on. I didn't think we were ever going to come back to that. And no, we came back to that. We came back around to that. And again, like, the little bits that we got of Isaiah Bradley in episode 2, I was like, man, that's really good stuff that they're referencing. I kind of wish that they went into more details. They went into more details. They went into more details. In fact,
on that. The title of this episode was Truth. And
you can tell everybody that this is absolutely true. You were sitting on the couch with Disney Plus already up there and, like, the little episode select screen up, and I came walking in and I saw the title of the episode and I went, oh shit! Because I knew what Truth was a reference to. That was the title of the Isaiah Bradley miniseries that they put out. And I was like, are we going to get more Isaiah Bradley in this episode?
And it turns out we did.
Yeah, there's a reason they titled it that. And man, I was just blown away that they were willing to do that. But yeah, he comes in here, and the entire inspiration for the Truth comic was, like I said, somebody looked back at the Super Soldier Serum and they're like, listen, the first people who got that experimented on, it was not going to be the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white kid in the 1940s, no. And they had this whole thing be reference to the Tuskegee experiments, where I don't remember what it was that they were trying to find, like, a vaccine for, I believe, but the first test subjects were all of these African American men, and they did not tell them even, like, why they were getting these shots or anything. And they even come in here and they, like, specifically reference the Tuskegee experiments. I was like, that's a big thing to talk about in a Marvel show, and that's coming from the person who has always said that the Marvel shows talk about big stuff. But that's really big. Wow, I was impressed by that. Man, that was great that they were willing to get in depth in there. And then he goes into like how he was arrested, and the reason he was arrested is because he broke out to go and save all of his men who got kidnapped, and he did. He successfully rescued them all. And what was literally the first thing that Steve Rogers did when he became Captain America? He went out on all his USO tours, but then all of his men got kidnapped, and he disobeyed a direct order, and he went out and he rescued them all. And then when he came back, he was like, well, I guess you're a hero now. So now we're going to have you go out there and actually be a hero in front of everyone. He went out and did literally the exact same thing that Steve Rogers did, and they put him in jail for 30 years where they experimented on him nonstop. And I'm like, man, I just gotta say, the way they're handling this is just incredible. I'm so impressed with all this. And just the raw emotions from that actor. Mm-hmm. I keep saying we need to get in Isaiah Bradley's show, or in season 2 of this show, if it does come back for season 2, I want like half of that thing. Like Sam goes on a mission, and the mission takes place at a place where Isaiah Bradley had to go on a mission back in like the 1950s. And so, like, he's retracing the steps, and he'll pass by something. He'll see, like, a big scar on the wall. Then you'll get a flashback of Isaiah fighting in that area or something like that. I would love to get more Isaiah Bradley in here. And I really did enjoy, like, the conversation that he had with Sam, because I've been talking about how they have been bringing up racial issues in this show, like, you know, with the cops coming up to arrest Sam, but I can understand people looking at the show being like, well, that's all basic stuff. Because it's like, you'd have to have your fingers in your ears and be closing your eyes and living in a cave up on Mars to not understand, like, you know, racial prejudices in, like, the police. Like, we saw a ton of that last year. We're seeing stuff like that right now with everything that's going on. It's like, yeah, everybody knows that stuff. So I can understand people saying, like, well, yeah, they're addressing it, but they're being safe with that stuff. But in this episode, there's a line from Isaiah that I thought was great, in which he says, any self-respecting black man would be a fool to want to be Captain America. And I like that line. Whoop, here you go. You want to get down now? And I really like that line. And by the way, I want to go ahead and say, I fully understand that, you know, I'm a white guy up here saying, like, well, let me tell you about how well this show is doing race relations. Like, no, listen, I fully understand that when it comes to this particular topic, I do not have, like, my opinion does not match any like,
we have no say in the matter.
It's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't know if I would use that particular term. But, yeah. People out there who actually have lived the experience, actual black people out there, like, they are going to have better opinions on this than we do. But just my own interpretation of it, because that's what this show is that we're doing right now. I love that line because, as I said, I can understand a lot of people saying, well, the racial stuff in here has been safe because it's all basic stuff that we all know, like, you know, racial intolerance in the police and stuff like that. But that line about a self-respecting black man would be a fool to want to be Captain America, I thought that line was really bold because that was basically like them saying, like, no, it's not just that there's racism in America, it's that America is racist. Yeah. And, like, you would now be the symbol of that. You'd be a fool to do that. It's like, that's pretty damn bold. It's like, that's taking it beyond the basic stuff. Like, that's actually getting into, like, mindset of, like, people who have had to live through all this intolerance. Like, damn, yeah, okay, I respect this show for doing that. Like, again, I think it's going beyond, like, the surface level basic stuff that they could do. I really appreciate that. And I was even like, I was watching the Double Toasted guys, and their review of this episode. And one of them on there was mentioning, like, how much of an impact that had on him because he was black, and he says that growing up, there's always, like, he's always had older black people, like, telling us, like, white men will never let you do this, white men will never let you do that. And he really, like, when he was watching this scene, like, it really stuck with him. Like, it really was like, wow, yeah, I've had those conversations before. So I would definitely recommend going and checking out the Double Toaster review and their discussion of this show because they've been doing a great job. But yeah, let's see what else. Yeah, I thought that was great. I I love that, like, they just had Bucky, like, this is something I mentioned in episode 2 when Bucky got arrested and Sam and him had that little, like, scene. And Bucky was like, well, how on earth could you not do this? How could you not take the shield when Cap gave you the shield? If Steve was wrong about you, they might have been wrong about me, which was a great line for Bucky. And you can understand why Bucky would be so mad at Sam giving up the shield. And all Sam said was, can you acknowledge that maybe I had reasons for doing what I had to do? I was like, get into those reasons. Actually, like, I think I know what you want to say in this scene. I want to see you actually say it throughout the show. And yeah, there comes that moment where they're playing catch in the backyard.
With the shield.
With the shield. That's what they're doing. They're just playing catch. I was like, man, you want to talk about, like, the perfect scene to show someone bonding? It's playing catch. And they're doing it with the shield. That's great. And Bucky just stops and he says to him, I'm sorry that I did not understand the pressure of being a black Captain America. I did not understand what you would be going through in that scene. And it's great because, A, it is addressing the thing that I was hoping that they were going to. They went back to that scene in which Sam say has reasons, and they expanded upon it. And I appreciate them going back and doing that. But the other thing is, I think that is just a really great thing to put in a show. To, like, have somebody in there come in here and say, I did not understand your life experience. I'm sorry that I tried to make a judgment on this without understanding it from your point of view. I think that that's something that we should normalize in shows, is having characters say, I have not lived your life and I don't understand the pressure that comes from being you. I'm sorry that I'm not being as eloquent as I should in here, but there's a reason why I'm not writing this show. But yeah, I thought that was great that they were willing to have a character do that, because that's like a moment of, like, listen, it's our heroes in a show. It's kind of like superhero rule number 1 that you never want to really show your hero coming in here and say, like, oh, I did a bad thing. Like, typically when a character does a bad thing, it's like a superhero thing, like, oh, I chose to save this person when I should have done that thing, or I ignored this crime and now these things happen. It's something that is like heroic stuff that this particular character would be in that situation. It's an action thing, so the audience can still cheer, but it's like, oh, no, they did that thing instead. This is just a human thing.
Yes.
This is not like, Bucky did not go up to Sam and be like, I'm sorry that when we were on this mission, I cut the red wire instead. No, this is just a human, real thing. And it's great that a show is having, like, the heroes of this show come in here and go, like, yeah, this is a thing that, we should not be afraid to, like, normalize actually talking about, like, yeah, I fucked up. I'm sorry that I didn't understand. I'm sorry, man. I thought that was great. I thought that was a fantastic thing to put in here. I will say that the scene is shot a little bit weird. I know they did go back for reshoots after COVID started to die down last summer, and I am almost wondering if, like, maybe they looked at the scene and went, we need a little bit more. So, like, just the framing of it is, like, a little bit odd, because it just kind of, like, so I have almost a weird feeling like it might have been a reshoot, but even if it was a reshoot, it just shot that should have been in the show. So yeah, good for you going back and doing that reshoot if that was a reshoot. Excuse me. Man, I've been covering a lot of stuff in here. Sorry, but there's so much good stuff in here. There's so much. We haven't even talked about Julia Louis-Dreyfus popping up in here. Which, man, I did like 12 double takes at that. I was like, no, that's not her. Is that? I think that's her. Is that Veep? No, that's not Veep. Is that, wait, Elaine? No. It's great. Wow. I did not think she was going to pop up in this thing. And she's in here, and yeah, I just had to keep looking. It's like, is that really Julia Louis-Dreyfus? And at first, I kind of had this weird thought to myself of, like, I don't know, it's weird that she's doing this because she doesn't really feel like someone who would want to be involved in, like, superhero stuff. But apparently, like, a year ago, she did an interview in which she said, someone put me in a superhero thing. I want to be in a superhero thing. And that's something I have to, like, remind myself every now and again, because I grew up back when all this nerd shit was, like, just for nerds. I grew up back when all this nerd stuff was like, yeah, that's not mainstream. Nobody actually wants to get into that. And I have to keep reminding myself, no, that's the most popular thing in the world right now for a reason, because people like it. And I do every now and again have to stop and remind myself, oh, yeah, people like these things. Like, so often people look at big celebrities doing these superhero things and like, oh, I can't believe they're slumming and doing these superhero things. I can't believe that they had to degrade themselves to do superhero things. And I think it is kind of good that we remind ourselves every now and again, sometimes really big actors do the superhero things because they genuinely like superhero things, not because they're like doing it for their grandkids, not because they're doing it for a paycheck, or because Disney is saying like, well, we'll let you do the thing you actually want later on if you agree to do this. Like, sometimes they do superhero things because they're just like, no, that sounds awesome. I want to do that. So yeah, I'm very glad that Julia Louis-Dreyfus wanted to be in a superhero thing, and Kevin Feige was like, I'm there, done. But yeah, after U.S. Agent gets kicked out, and I love that they were like, you gotta return that shield. And he just, man, you want to talk about like just a moment of humiliation for him. When they say like, we expect you to return the shield. And he didn't say anything. And you can tell they don't know he lost it because he's ashamed to admit he had lost it. And now, like, listen, you want to talk about like what makes a villain really good is when you can kind of like understand a situation they're in. And I think everybody out there has been in that situation at some point in time, whether it be with your job, with like, you know, a girlfriend, boyfriend, with like someone out there where they're like, yeah, so you gotta do that thing, right? And in your mind, you're like, there is no way I can do that thing. But I can't admit that. And like, you just have to sit there for a while like, I fucked up, how am I going to do this? And I was like, wow, that is such a human moment. Which this entire show is just human moments. But yeah, she comes in there and she says like, yeah, we've got a thing that, yeah, this group that you're going to be a part of, yeah, it's a thing. And there's a lot of people speculating on what that could be because her character from the comics was Nick Fury's like second in command. Granted, Nick Fury's had like 5 different second in command. Like, he had Dum Dum Dugan, he had like all these different people. But she was like, when it came to like spy stuff, she was his big spy guy. And a lot of people were saying, like, well, maybe in this she's going to be evil and she's working for Hydra, because she definitely had, like, I'm the evil person vibe to her. Like, mystery person who pops up out of nowhere, goes up to the guy who murdered someone in cold blood and tries to recruit him. Yeah, some kind of dark stuff.
That doesn't guarantee she's Hydra, though. It could be just like another like villain we gotta look out for. Because that's the thing about the series. Is like, there's a lot of like bad people, good people, and they all have like their reasons for doing the things that they do. And you know, it's not as simple as black and white.
And also, this is Captain America. It's never just been Hydra. There's been like the Secret Empire. There's been AIM. There's been all these other groups out there. So it's like, who knows what group she could be working for? But even if she's working for a villain group, there was a time in the comics where she went undercover with Hydra, and so it could be that. But here's the theory that a lot of people are having, because this is something that I didn't know. I had to look this up. But apparently, this was not supposed to be her first appearance. Her first appearance, because when she walks onto the set, when she walks in that scene, it kind of has this vibe of like, is it someone we know? And yeah, we don't know them because it's never appeared before. But her first appearance was supposed to be in Black Widow, which was originally supposed to come out a few months before this show came out last year. And she was going to pop up in that. So it's definitely like, okay, so Black Widow was supposed to come out, and then like a few months later, this was supposed to come out as the first big Marvel show, and she was going to be in both those things back to back. They are clearly setting up that she is doing a thing. And in Black Widow, we do know that Yelena Belova is going to be in there, and Yelena Belova was someone else who became a Black Widow for like the Russian organization that created Black Widow. So the theory going around, we don't know what she does in the Black Widow movie, but in here she comes up and she very clearly tries to recruit the not Captain America. There is a theory that she is trying to build her own Avengers team. So she's getting like knockoff Captain America, knockoff Black Widow, and the theory is there's been 2 different groups that this could be. One is the Thunderbolts, which the Thunderbolts in the comics was originally a group of villains who disguised themselves as heroes to try and gain popularity and then use that to their advantage. But then they essentially became Marvel Suicide Squad, where they were villains who were trapped in a prison. They had the bombs implanted in their neck and then went out on secret missions. So it could be that. The other theory is that it's the Dark Avengers, which the Dark Avengers has been like 9 different things. I'm not going to go into all that. But essentially all you need to know is they've always been dark versions of the Avengers.
It's like, it's like we already have like another Suicide Squad movie coming out. So I'm wondering, like, I don't know if they would be like the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that's the thing is that it's like, okay, that is something that would definitely play into this, but that's the question. Would Marvel look at a new Suicide Squad movie coming up and going, nah, we can't do that, because then people just say we're Suicide Squad? Or would Marvel look at that and go, oh yeah, we saw that last Suicide Squad movie, challenge accepted, but if there is any time for us to make a better Suicide Squad, it's now, which James Gunn is making the new Suicide Squad, so I'm like, oh, that's like... After that last Suicide Squad, it would not be hard for Marvel to make a better Suicide Squad. But with a James Gunn Suicide Squad movie coming, it's like, oh shoot, that would be a challenge, and I don't know if you could do that. Yeah, so it is definitely like, I don't know if it would be the Thunderbolts, and I say that as a big Thunderbolts fan, but here's the other thing to consider. The leader of the Thunderbolts originally was Baron Zemo. And at the end of this thing, the Wakandans show up, and I'm like, oh, they're going to take him and kill him, and instead they go, we're taking him back to the Raft, which is the big super prison in Marvel Comics. And I'm like, oh, so he's going to jail. And I believe the Raft was also the place that we saw in Civil War, that the big thing that came out of the sea where all the heroes were being kept. And I think, man, it's been a while, and these are like small details, so you'll have to forgive me if I forget them. But I believe that we also saw, I know that General Thunderbolt Ross, the guy who's always chasing the Hulk, I know that he was working with Tony during Civil War. And I think that he got put in charge of the Raft. And in the comics, Thunderbolt Ross has also been one of the members of the Thunderbolts. And he actually took some gamma injections and became his own version of the Hulk. So now I'm looking at this like, okay, you got Baron Zemo going to a place being led by a guy who became the Thunderbolts version of the Hulk. And now we've got, like, not Captain America and not Black Widow. And we're like, I don't, like, this could easily be, listen, I'll say this. Whichever one it is, it's probably going to be like a weird combination of the two. The only question is, what's the name going to be? I have a feeling it's probably going to be called the Thunderbolts because it'll probably be headed up by Thunderbolt Ross, which that's just a very weird coincidence that the two of them have the same name because he did not found the Thunderbolts. They just kind of like synced up. But yeah, it would be a great reason to name them that in the show, like if he's the one overseeing it all. And then you have Zemo, they go to him and he's like, listen, you got a brilliant mind, and we need someone to like plot this stuff out. So we're not gonna send you out there into the field, but you can work some stuff behind the scenes. So he organizes some stuff. Also, Baron Zemo's entire thing has been like, I believe that superheroes are wrong. So if they came to him and said, yeah, okay, listen, we need you to help us take down the new Avengers because we don't trust them. Because I could totally see that being what they're doing. I could see what they're doing being that we need a villain for the next Avengers film. And the next Avengers film, it's not going to be Captain America, it's not going to be Black Widow, it's not going to be Hawkeye, it's not going to be like Iron Man, any of those people, no. All of them are off the field, and all we got right now is Captain Marvel. We're going to have this new Captain America who is not working for the government anymore. And like, I can see them looking at that being like, I don't know who these people are. We don't trust them. Tony did a good job at staying off our radar. We don't know these guys. We need our own Avengers to take them down. And I can see that's why they're building this like Thunderbolts team. I can see that's why they would go up to Baron Zemo like, listen, I know that you hate superheroes. How would you like to help us take down the Avengers, the biggest group of superheroes out there? Like, I could see that's what they're saying up. I want everybody to remember I said all this crazy rambling for when I'm proven to be wrong. Because remember,
next episode.
Yeah, because remember, I'm the guy who couldn't even keep things straight from one episode to the next. But yeah, man, I love everything that was going on here. I love, we talked about the scene of like Bucky and him playing catch. I love that Sam, again, he's a counselor who helped people deal with coming home from war, deal with PTSD, deal with trying to like rebuild their normal lives. And Bucky is massively suffering from PTSD. And we actually got a moment of Sam, like, Bucky's been going up to like an appointed therapist this entire time, and that therapist hasn't really been helping him. I love that Sam, like in this moment, kind of proved like this is why he's supposed to be Captain America. He goes up to Bucky and he helps him there in that moment. I love that scene. And I'm sorry, you want to say something?
Like, basically, like, Bucky has been, like, going up to all these people and going, I'm sorry, and then walking off, hoping that'll, like, get rid of his guilt.
Well, also, the people he's been going up to, like, there's people in his book of names.
Yeah.
And he's only been paying attention to half of them, and that's the bad people who he did things for. And he was like, well, yeah, okay, I can make amends to you by sending you to jail. But that's the easy stuff. It's like I was saying with the difference between Bucky saying, I screwed up on this mission, and I screwed up by not understanding, the racial connotations of you becoming Captain America. There's two very different things there. And that's what the two names in his list are. It's I can make amends by sending you to jail. I can make amends by going to you and admitting that a terrible thing happened and I'm the one that did it and I'm sorry. That's a way harder thing to do.
I was I forget exactly what what they said exactly, but I was Sam definitely was the one who told him you got to own up to this and everything. So
that was a great moment in there. And then we get the train montage of Sam, which really solid train montage, but I love that they just kind of basically said you can't just throw the shield and then it's okay. But also I love that it is a homemade training montage. I love that Tim going up to the trees in the back and he has to put padding on there to get the shield to bounce off, because you think about John Walker, again, this is one of the few complaints that I still do have about the show. I wish we had gotten some more backstory on the people who decided John Walker needed to be Captain America, on some group of people out there who's we need a Captain America. Let's go through the list of names and let's go to him. Let's actually see the process of people going up to John Walker and telling him he needs to be Captain America. Because I would love to see the divide between John Walker gets professional level training on this thing, and he gets the very best treatment on this, and Sam has to go to his own thing that he built in his backyard to make this happen. I would love to see just the divide on that and see
it's the Rocky montage.
It was a Rocky montage, yeah. But here's the thing, Rocky montages work for a reason. Granted, I say that as somebody that Rocky's maybe his favorite film franchise of all time, but I love that. I thought the pacing of that was really good. I thought I thought that
No, I actually think was it Rocky 3 where he beats up the Russian, or is
that was Rocky 4?
Yes, I'm thinking
that's the one everyone remembers.
John Walker would be the one hook up to the machines and everything.
On fire.
And Sam would be the one out in the cold doing his push-ups.
That's exactly what it is. And that's why the Rocky fight works so well in 4. And that's what I want to see in this. I would love to see that. Although we did still kind of get something like that in which we see crazy-ass John Walker, just hammering shit together.
Yes, to make his own shield.
And I kept looking at that that ain't vibranium. That ain't gonna bounce. That's the reason Cap's shield bounces. It doesn't absorb, it redirects the kinetic energy in there from the vibranium. That isn't going to fucking bounce. And but then I'm thinking about when John Walker threw his shield into the freaking wall in that last episode. I'm oh, now he's got a thing that doesn't even absorb kinetic energy. He just throws that. He's just got a giant metal thing he's going to throw.
Yes, and possibly decapitate.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that people were making fun of that shield and saying oh, that thing ain't gonna last. I'm it ain't there to absorb. Cap's shield is important because it's designed to protect. This dude made a weapon. This dude is in his backyard building a thing specifically made to decapitate people. I'm holy crap. Yeah. Oh, man. And, other good John Walker scenes in here. I love when he goes to Battlestar's family and he's telling them, and he's lying his ass off in there.
Yeah.
He's lying, and then you just see the sister staring at him she knows something is up. And man, I love that. And I don't think that his family's going to return. I don't think the sister's going to return anything. But it is just a great thing for setting in, people aren't buying his bullshit anymore. There's that little tiny hint of I don't know about this. And it's just it's showing the difference from everyone loves John Walker and everybody's going up to him getting autographs and everything. And they can't wait to praise this guy who they just met. And now people are doubt.
Yeah.
You're pretty sus there, John.
Which is a thing that does happen a lot.
John Walker was the imposter.
This is, and it's it's thinking this is a thing that does happen a lot with celebrities and people in the news and everything. It's oh, you look up to this person and suddenly you find out they did some shitty stuff.
Well, also I've been saying this whole time that there's a lot of metaphors for the military in here, and I was looking at it in this and it's John Walker is definitely a guy who's suffered PTSD from the things he's done. Like, I don't think that we give enough applause to that moment in the last episode where he was talking about, like, yeah, over in Afghanistan we had to do these things. And, like, he doesn't go into details, but you can tell he doesn't want to go into details. And, like, that's really, like, I keep talking about John Walker being a great villain because he's so complex because of all the stuff that they set up in there for him. And, like, you can tell it's like, he's not a guy who is just like, yes, I decided to do these things because I wanted to. Like, no, he got forced into this situation, like that line said, you made me. And you can tell, like, yeah, he obeyed orders, he did what he had to do, and man, it messed him up because of that. He had to do some things and see some things, and it really hurt him on a psychological level. And I really appreciate them kind of getting into that. But what the hell was I going to say? Oh, yeah, and, like, we're talking about, like, yeah, him being Captain America, that's him, like, being, like, in the field and being, like, which I know times have changed a lot, but it kind of made me think of, like, when America was going through Vietnam, which I'm not that old, so this is me speaking from my personal experience, but it did make me think of, like, how Vietnam was this huge divide for America when it came to viewing, like, war. And a lot of the Vietnam soldiers, when they came back home, they were expecting what the World War II soldiers got, where it was, you know, ticker tape parades and applause, and instead it was a lot of people going like, I know what you did over there, and like a lot of people looking down on them for that. And I'm kind of looking at this like him when he was out there in the field, everybody's giving me the high fives and everything, and now it's him coming back home and it's like, what did you do out there in the field? And it's like, I can kind of see like the weight that's putting on him, and yeah, they're doing a great job just creating like this, like everything in the show is freaking complex, and I love it. It's so good. Oh man. Now all I gotta do is just survive until Friday so I can finally see the Captain America suit. Which I know that, like, apparently the Captain America suit, like, there's been some leaked images, but I never look at leaked images. I want to wait and see the actual thing happen.
The official reveal.
The official reveal. Plus, from what I understand, the suit, it's just like a picture of the suit. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything until you see the guy in it.
Yeah, plus sometimes leaked photos can be photoshopped.
They can totally be yeah. Falcon was confirmed for Smash, everyone. Man. Oh my God, Captain Falcon is in Smash.
Yes, I was gonna say there's already another Falcon. There's already a Falcon in Smash.
I'm sorry, Sam. We already got a Captain Falcon. Man. Yeah, oh man, something I forgot to talk about. I want to talk about this. I mentioned that Joaquin, like Sam's buddy Joaquin in here. In the comics, when Sam became Captain America, Joaquin became Falcon. And that first episode, we saw Joaquin like going like, maybe you should do this with the wings. And he's like, no, don't you touch this. Every time you guys touch it, you mess it up. And then in here, the wings get ripped off of Sam. Mm-hmm. And Joaquin is like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know, you keep him, see what you can do with that. And all I could think was, he becomes Falcon! Which, again, that's one of those things that I'm just like, okay, is he going to become Falcon in Season 2? If there is a Season 2, I have to come back to that. We don't know if there is going to be Season 2. But is he going to become Falcon then? Is it going to be one of those things where it's like at the very end when like you got the music swelling and we're about to go to the final credits of Season 6 and we're just cutting back to everybody showing what they're doing? Are we going to cut to Joaquin like tinkering with the wings, trying to make them work, and like the last image we see is like of like him going like, oh, I can't make this work, and then the wing just kind of goes like a little bit like, I made it work, like kind of like him like he's gonna become the new Falcon. Or are we actually gonna get like a moment in like the final battle of him going up against U.S. Agent, like Sam's down, he doesn't know like he's about like U.S. Agent is about to like decapitate him with the shield. Then Joaquin comes flying in with the wings and kicks him out of the way. Like, are we gonna get something like that? Like, how long do we have to wait to see Joaquin as the new Falcon? Yeah, man. Because yeah, I will admit, for anybody who saw our first episode, I was nervous about what they do with Joaquin, because Joaquin in the comics was a character who was made very largely to make criticisms of the United States government. And what they do with him in here is they made him a soldier for the United States government, and he was very much like, yeah, we're going out there and we're the ones stopping the bad guys, Sam. And I was just like, you kind of took a character who was supposed to be like criticism of the United States government and made him spokesperson for the United States government. That's really kind of gross to me. But the rest of this show has been so good about course correcting on that problem that I had with that first episode. And I'm like, you know what? Do whatever you want with Joaquin. I'm on board now. Like, you've proven yourself, and now I want to see what you do with that character. So yeah, I definitely want to see that. Man, yeah, I just can't wait for this final episode. I want to see like where everything goes. The only problem I really had with this episode was that the Flag Smashers are coming together, which, by the way, Batroc the Leaper comes back, and I love that. So in the final episode, we're going to have Flag Smashers, Batroc, and U.S. Agent, and Sam's in there, which I do have a feeling of like, again, it's not... I do think that U.S. Agent is going to fight Falcon in here, but we have to remind ourselves, even though we keep pointing at U.S. Agent and going, he's a villain in here, he is a villain who wants to take out the other villains, and his big problem is
like I said before, there's a lot of different villains in this.
There's
show.
A lot of gray in here too. A lot of like, well, yeah, he's a villain, but he's a villain fighting that villain, and
these people are fighting for this reason, and then just
exactly. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, when we get into the final fight, don't be too shocked if it's U.S. Agent and Falcon fighting side by side, because I know a lot of people are gonna want Falcon to fight U.S. Agent. It could be one of those things where they're fighting side by side, and then at the end, Sam's like, I have to bring you in, and then U.S. Agent's like, no, I'm not doing that. He jumps off a rooftop and disappears or something. So yeah, they might not be setting up to be a villain, they might be setting up to be anti-hero. But yeah, so don't be too shocked if that happens. But I can't see them, after everything that's gone down with him, I can't see them coming in here and be like, and he's redeemed himself and everyone likes him now. That ain't gonna happen. But yeah, I just keep thinking about like all the people that he's gonna have to fight in this final episode. But one of my small problems, I said that one problem I do have is that at the end of this, the Flag Smashers, they're going to go and try and stop this vote. That is about to happen. That has to do with refugees, and they're going to try and stop that vote. And all I could think was that something that had been established before? Like, I don't remember them ever mentioning like this vote coming up. Maybe they did, I just completely missed it.
Yeah,
it's entirely possible because there's so many things going on in this show that there could have been like a small quick reference and I completely missed it. But it feels like if this is where the final thing is going to take place, there should have been more mentions of it leading up. But again, I could have missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does feel, if they did mention it, it feels like they should have mentioned it a little bit. Like that should have been our ticking time bomb, like, okay, this thing is coming up, like that sort of thing. But yeah, like that's it. Also, is Sharon Carter the power broker? Because I thought the power broker was that person who got killed. Like, yeah, they go and they meet with that person, they get shot, and I kind of had an assumption that was going to be revealed that was Baron Zemo who took them out. But then no, it wasn't Baron Zemo. So I was like, okay. And now it's revealed that no, it was definitely Sharon. Sharon has become like, man, you know what I'm talking about, like heel turns. Sharon has become a straight up villain, but you can understand like her heel turn in here. Like, this is somebody who gave up everything to try and protect America from Hydra, and then America turned on her. And then she tried to ally herself with Cap, and Cap just didn't say Cap didn't say anything to her for 2 years. She got kicked out of the country for allying herself with Cap. And then Cap just palled around with Falcon in Europe for 2 years. And she got left to rot in Madripoor. And again, we don't know what happened during the blip. We don't know if she got blipped. We don't know if she disappeared for 5 years. She could have been there for 5 years while the world was in chaos. And the Flag Smashers are like, no, everything was good during that time. Sharon Carter would be like, no, it was not good during that time. I had to do some shit during that time. Things in Madripoor was rough. There's some Hawkeye motherfucker running around chopping people up in my streets. Yeah, so she is definitely like changed, but you can understand it after everything she's gone to. I mean, she sacrificed everything for Cap, and then he just disappears to go back in time and live with her aunt. That's gotta hurt someone. So yeah, I'm kind of wondering, like, was she the real power broker the entire time? Or did she try to, like, move in on the power broker's territory? I'm wondering what's going on with that. And I'm wondering where all that's going to go. This is one of those things I get. It makes me say there has to be a season 2. There is no way that with everything set up in here, we're just going to go like, and that's it. Like, you'll see Sam in the new Avengers. Like, no, there's got to be stuff coming up. Yeah, man. There's a lot of crazy stuff there. I remember seeing people online speculating that the real power broker was going to be revealed to be Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, and it was going to be the Kingpin from the Daredevil show. And all I could think was, did you learn nothing from WandaVision? Did you learn Nothing. Like, I'm sorry, do you think the real power broker is Mephisto? Do you think the X-Men tie in here? Which, in all fairness, you're in Madripoor, which is an X-Men staple, so I can't even get mad at you for that one. But, Wilson Fisk, come on, guys. You gotta calm down on that. It ain't happening. Although it would be an amazing reveal if it happened. You know what, listen.
You've been wrong before.
I'm on your side here. I'm on your side because I'm saying there's no way that's happening, which means I'm giving all of my negative luck to making this possibly happen. You should all be thanking me for that. If it happens in the next episode, man, you guys gotta come back and apologize to me for saying it wasn't gonna happen, because clearly that meant it was going to happen. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. That'd be a crazy, amazing thing to happen if it was Wilson Fisk. I think the odds are at 2%. Just like I like my milk. So yeah, wow. I am lightheaded after this. I need a snack. I need a Snickers bar. You got anything to say? I know I hogged the crap out of this conversation.
You said pretty much everything that I was thinking.
Yeah, sorry, I got the adrenaline and I'm loving the show. And man, again, if you guys followed us through all of our comic book videos, you know Sam Wilson is my favorite Captain America, and the comics screwed him the fuck over. And after how bad the comics screwed him over, because what happened in the comics is that there's this big push by this mysterious organization, which got revealed to be Hydra, to make everybody hate Sam Wilson. They got the media against him. They got everybody against him. They got Twitter to trend, give back the shield for like 2 weeks straight. Which, wow, yeah, an evil organization using Twitter. Wow, wonder what that was all about. And then it got handed over to evil alternate reality Captain America, who was a member of Hydra. That's what the whole, like, when the internet lost its shit over Captain America saying Hail Hydra.
So that was the...
It was evil alternate reality. It's like, it wasn't Steve Rogers. It was him from an alternate reality where he became Captain America. And it's like, and the whole thing was meant to be a metaphor about, like, hate groups in America using the name of America to try and rise in power.
Oh, the irony.
Yeah. Kind of felt like we should have like leaned into the nuance of that, but whatever. But the whole thing led up to Sam deciding not to be Captain America, but then when America completely fell apart and fell under Hydra's rule, Sam picked back up the shield, decided to become Captain America, saved the day, saved America. And then it all ended with him giving up the shield back to Steve Rogers and saying, you should be Captain America. And then he left and became Falcon again. I was like, what the What? And man, they just screwed him over so bad on that. Because member berries. Because remember when Steve Rogers was Captain America? You remember, right? Yeah, remember berries. Yeah, I was like, oh God, are you kidding me on this? And now after the comics screwed him over so bad, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at that final shot of him opening it up and you know the new Captain America costume is inside of there. And I'm just like, I don't need the comics anymore. It's weird. I don't need a thing that is just going to come in here over and over again and take away the cool shit so that you can have the same thing that you've had for 40, 50 years. I don't need that anymore because I've got the movies that are pushing things forward, and that's amazing, and I love it. It's great. It's so cool, and I can't wait to get behind this. It's wonderful. By the way, I do still need the comics. The comics are great, and blah, 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 blah. But the movies are better now. It's happening. My chest literally hurts from how much I've talked now. I think I caved out one of my lungs from how much I talked about this. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Those were our thoughts up until now. I can't wait to come back and just like with WandaVision's final episode, be completely disappointed with that final episode. But no, I got faith. I think we're gonna be all right because I also did not learn from WandaVision. Oh, come back next week in which we talk about the finale, and then after that, I think we got a little break in between now and Loki. But man, with how good these shows have been and how weird that Loki show looks, I cannot wait to see what goes down. Yeah, so come back for that. Bye, everybody.
Bye.